After 2 decades of waiting, the wheels of justice have finally turned for Sudan. On 6 October, the International Criminal Court convicted a former leader of a militia in Sudan of war crimes and crimes against humanity for his role in Darfur. Ali Muhammad Ali Abd al-Rahman, also known by his alias Ali Kushayb, was found guilty of multiple offences including rape, murder and torture, which were committed between August 2003 and April of 2004. Kushayb conducted a scorched earth campaign that wiped out entire villages, including women and children, when the Sudanese government allied with local militias to stamp out a 2003 rebellion in Darfur. He is the first person convicted by the ICC for crimes in the Darfur conflict since the court began its investigations in 2005. In a comprehensive 355-page verdict, the ICC found Kushayb guilty beyond any reasonable doubt of 27 counts of crimes.
Convinced that the accused is guilty beyond reasonable doubt of the crimes with which he has been charged. Its verdicts are unanimous.
The court will pronounce the sentence at a later date. He could get a maximum of life imprisonment. The presiding judge mentioned an incident when Kushayb loaded 50 civilians onto trucks, beating some with axes before ordering his troops to execute them. The court concluded that Kushayb personally took part in beatings and was present while ordering these executions. These crimes were committed during the war that broke out in Darfur in 2003. The Darfur conflict broke out after non-Arab rebel groups rose up against an Arab-dominated government to demand an end to decades of political and economic marginalization. Sudan's president at the time, Omar al-Bashir, permitted aerial bombings and raids by the Janjaweed militia. Now, Ali Kushayb was a pivotal leader of the Janjaweed. During his trial, survivors described horrific acts including the burning down of villages, the slaughter of men and boys, and women being forced into sexual slavery. According to UN, 300,000 people were killed and 2.7 million displaced in Darfur. Al-Bashir has since been charged by the ICC with crimes including genocide, but he has not been handed over to face justice at The Hague. Currently, he is in military custody in Sudan. The court said the crimes were committed in the context of a wider state policy. This finding leaves the door open for further trials arising out of the Sudan conflict. The court investigated the definition of war crimes and crimes against humanity by considering the involvement of the Sudanese government. Kushayb was transferred to ICC custody in 2020 after surrendering in the Central African Republic. He pleaded not guilty to charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity when his trial opened in April of 2022. He argued that he was not the person known as Ali Kushayb. The conflict lasted from 2003 to 2020 and was one of the world's gravest humanitarian disasters, with allegations of ethnic cleansing and genocide against the region's non-Arab population. The Rapid Support Forces is now the central antagonist battling Sudan's military in the current civil war. The paramilitary group was born out of the effort by the Sudanese government to integrate the Janjaweed into a formal structure. The transition highlights a long hiring of militias and the consistent use of sexual violence as a tool of war throughout both conflicts. The systematic violence that defined the Janjaweed era is tragically being repeated today. The UK, the US and various human rights organizations have accused the Rapid Support Forces of actively carrying out ethnic cleansing against non-Arab communities in Darfur. Sudan's current conflict is not without historical precedent. Over the past 70 years, the country has experienced 20 attempted coups, ranking second only to Bolivia in the frequency of such events. In addition, Sudan has endured 2 protracted civil wars, the most recent of which culminated in 2011 with the secession of South Sudan, now recognized as Africa's newest sovereign state and the 193rd member of the UN. The ongoing civil war in Sudan has reached a critical flashpoint in El-Fasher, where 13 people were killed in an attack on one of the city's last remaining hospitals. On 7th October, the Rapid Support Forces shelled the Saudi hospital several times in an assault that left 16 others injured, including a doctor and a nurse. A group of Sudanese medics called it a war crime. The city of El-Fasher, the last military stronghold of the Sudanese army in the Darfur region, is facing a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. It's been under relentless siege by the Rapid Support Forces for more than 17 months now, with the assault intensifying sharply in recent weeks. The RSF is mounting a fierce assault on El-Fasher in an attempt to seize control of the city from its rival, the Sudanese army. The UN says since April 2023, the war has killed tens of thousands of people, displaced about 15 million, and pushed nearly 25 million into acute hunger. It's triggered one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. Once again, Darfur is a battleground, and the same groups of people who were targeted 2 decades ago are suffering a fresh wave of violence. What began as a regional rebellion has become a long, tragic chapter in Sudan's history, one that is still being written today.